There's nothing quite like morning in NASCAR. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, here on this Saturday morning coverage of Cup Series practice and qualifying. And today, we are late in the season, obviously. Just 3 more race weekends left for the NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series. A triple header coming up on the channel here today with, of course, practice and qualifying beginning here in just a couple of minutes for the NASCAR Cup Series and the third to last race of the season, the Straight Talk Wireless 400 at the Homestead-Miami Speedway nonetheless for the last playoff race for the presumable future for this year. It is the second race of the round of 8 before returning towards the beginning portion of the season next spring. But as far as this race goes here today, I think we're going to set ourselves up for what we will see tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of slipping and sliding around this very old race surface, last repaved, reconfigured back in 2003. And so with that being said, you're going to see a lot of drivers running that top lane of the racetrack, very similar to what we saw at Kansas earlier in the playoff, earlier in the run, but you're going to have to be able to run the run the top of the racetrack as we get later into the day. Now, because each practice session is only 20 minutes, 20 minutes for Group A, 20 minutes for Group B, you might not see the tires fall off a whole lot. I'm sure a lot of drivers will try to run that outside lane of the racetrack to get themselves acclimated with it before the beginning of the race tomorrow, but we're going to see a lot longer green flag runs more than likely in the race than what we would see in practice, but that would be on a usual basis as well. 9:05 Eastern is today's coverage for practice and qualifying. It is currently airing on the NBC Sports app. It is not on USA Network as of right now. So, again, appreciate everybody tuning in for this one. Very early coverage for today's action. Still got to get that raw feed up. It's not up yet, but practice hasn't quite begun. Refresh the page. Okay, there we go. Now we're good to go on that side of things. So, again, practice will begin. See the list of some of the drivers in Group A that are going to be on the racetrack. Denny Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, A.J. Allmendinger, Martin Truex Jr., Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, and obviously there will be a dozen others as well. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Definitely going to be an interesting one here this weekend. Homestead, definitely one of the better mile-and-a-half racetracks in my personal opinion as far as race quality goes. I think we're going to have a lot of heavy hitters in this first group just based off of the small list of names that we have up there. Toyota's really good on the mile-and-a-half racetracks, obviously, this season. Hamlin, Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr., A.J. Allmendinger, Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, Josh Bilicki, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, Tyler Reddick, Joey Logano, Noah Gragson, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Raj Chastain, and Harrison Burton. Those are the 19 drivers that are in Group A, the only non-chartered entry in this group this weekend, the 66 of Josh Bilicki for MBM. Cars are on the racetrack as we begin open practice, 20 minutes for Group A.
And nobody's in a better position, Jeff, than this guy here. Yeah, this is Joey Logano, guy that didn't think could make it to Phoenix. You give this team enough time to prepare, and this has become kind of what they do. Penske Racing, during the year, they don't look like the best team, but when the year is over, there they are in Phoenix with a chance to win the championship. On the last side. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, on the opposite side, Elliott and Blaney. They have to start to be thinking here the must win. Even Reddick, 30 and 27 points, even 47 can be made up with math. I just don't know if the group above Bell, Larson, Byron, they're the last 3 winners here, right? So to think you're just going to come here all of a sudden and make up 30 or 40 points on one of these cars is going to be very difficult. This racetrack's going to be really fast right now. You're going to see these drivers down at 1 and 2. They're going to be ripping the bottom down here at 3 and 4, probably to the middle of the racetrack. But as this practice goes on, I think they'll all end up right by the wall. But right now, with so much grip, a good opportunity to see what your car drives like on new tires, cold tires, qualifying coming up in a little bit. Maybe you can learn a little something right now. The champ could not have imagined to be in this position. So how's the weekend going to shape out for Ryan Blaney? Finally, can some luck or some good fortune come his way? That's a question that'll be answered in qualifying. Remember, he was up against it last weekend in Vegas when he had that practice crash and had to go to a backup car and was kind of on the back foot before the weekend really even got going. This guy here had a fast car last weekend, and that has given him, Steve, Tyler Reddick, and the 45 team, it's given them an air of confidence because the speed went away for a really important part. And then he had to scrap and fight like never before at the Roval just to get through to the round of 8. And last weekend, he knew that he was racing Christopher Bell. He knew the speed. He won the first stage last weekend. And then it was that moment where a gap that seemed like it was there, it closed. And this is what we're talking about. He had the speed dip. I wonder if he's going to be questioning this move right here to be 3 wide top. I like to move. I think that's what you have to do. I think you have to be aggressive. Then he jumps over that quarter-mile asphalt, gets upside down. A lot of people think that maybe he could have backed out of the gas and had a little bit more discretion, not forced it 3 wide. But, Jeff, we watch these restarts every single week, and I believe the mindset in the round of 8 has to be go, which is fill those holes and move forward. If you are second guessing or trying to check up, I just don't think you're aggressive enough. I agree with that. And I think also the 2 guys that were on the bottom of the racetrack are 2 guys that you should be able to 100% trust, right? 2 of the best race car drivers we have. And even backing that off, in my eyes, not in his best interest. Good morning, Jeff. Rich to be with you guys. And come down here on pit road. It is beautiful in the shade and getting a little bit warm in the sunshine. You can see the track has a little of both right now. And for all the drivers, including Tyler Reddick, who was asked by crew chief Billy Scott, this is a managed practice. The tires fall off very quickly here. So you want to know what your car is doing when the tires are fresh and what the car is doing when your tires are old. So for me, this early morning practice, one of the hardest things is to get that first fire-off lap. Billy Scott told his driver, Tyler Reddick, I want you to get the qualifying lap feel when you get out there, when the tires move, like they will be when we change them for qualifying. So, Jeff, how hard is that? First thing in the morning, goodness, it's just after 9 a.m., and you got to get out there and lay down a qualifying lap just for the data. Well, look, as a race car driver, that's what you like to do. You like to go fast. And this racetrack, it has more grip than it's ever going to have. And it's got more grip than it's going to have in practice. If you go, qualifying, if you go faster in qualifying, it's just because air pressures for things that you can do to the car to run 1 lap versus running what they're probably going to do with a full run right here. So, yes, it's an opportunity to learn, but your car isn't going to be the same when you go to qualify versus the way it is right now. By the way, just on the timing on the left there, the reason why the green line is under Joey Logano is it designates that he is locked in. Can this guy here, a multi-time winner at Homestead-Miami Speedway, Denny Hamlin, can he be locked in tomorrow afternoon? He said earlier this week on his own podcast that he's surprised that they're still in this thing, that they're still in the playoffs. So can this take a massive turn in the right direction? Can the season turn around at the most unlikely time? Anything's possible. Well, so is that shock a positive or a negative? Because I can make the argument that they haven't brought their best. I can make the argument that they haven't brought their best, yet they're still here. They haven't been eliminated. So if they just find somewhere close to what they're capable, it should be enough, yeah? He's the first one outside the cut line at 27 below. What magic can Chris Gabehart work and the 11 team? Well, I'll tell you, last week it was far from magic, but across the board, right? I thought Gabehart had some very uncharacteristic calls that they were a little on the edge of gambling. It didn't work out track position wise. They had some pit stops that weren't great. Denny was fine on the racetrack, but honestly missed his mark a few times coming in the just the whole 11 team was just a miss, Dave. Steve, right now you see Chris Gabehart watching things that Denny Hamlin does not want to be distracted with while he is running that car up close to the fence. That includes how he's doing into the turns and out of the turns. Right now, Chris is telling Denny he loves what he's doing in 3 and 4, but in 1 and 2, he doesn't like his deceleration. So as you watch that, and Jeff, again, as a driver, you're listening to this data, trying to pick at your lines as your tires go away. Well, it's great information coming from his crew chief, and he trusts a great deal, and his crew chief's looking at data from other race cars, and the reason his acceleration is down is because the line that he's running. If you look at Reddick some of the other guys, they're already up on the boards, just ripping the boards, and that is where the car makes the most grip. But I have to say that there he goes. That's going to make the car go faster. That line right there. But everybody's going to eventually go there. So I'm also like the fact that you're not always just looking at lap times. You have to understand the strengths of your car and the weaknesses of your car. Denny Hamlin has enough experience to know that. And so this isn't always just about looking at lap times. It's about knowing what changes we need to make, because we're going to have to pass somebody at some point. And if we just get up there in the fastest line and that's where we run, then we're not always going to learn what we need to know.
From the 11 to the 1, here's the Kubota Chevy for Trackhouse Racing and Ross Chastain, who found some momentum again. And he just said too, a similar comment that some of the other drivers have echoed, that is, we kind of lost our speed for a bit and we got it back, and Kansas was emblematic of that. And so, yes, we know we're not in the running, but what we can do is we can show how strong we can finish this season out. Let's go for it again. He's had good results here before at Homestead. So just go for the positives with 3 races left. A good fire off speed. It's fallen off a little bit more than others on this run right here. 12 laps in. You know, he's up at the 34-second bracket. Some of the better cars are still down in the 33s. Reddick specifically, Blaney as well. I think Blaney, Reddick, even Hamlin have some really good long runs cars. So, Chip, you've got the helmet back on as a multi-time winner here in the Xfinity Series. Even though this practice session and the race is not at the same practice session and qualifying, excuse me, is not at the same time of day as the race, what would you do going out this early in the morning? What would you do? How would you learn something here?
I actually like what Denny was doing. I think that you got to get to the top of the racetrack, because that's where you're going to run the physical day. But if we go to the 12 car in the middle of 3 and 4, you can see what he's having to deal with. And this is real world. And his lap times are not going to look as good. When we look at it at the end of the day, we're going to say the 12 car is not as good as some other people, but this is real life. This is what he's going to have to be dealing with tomorrow as he's trying to pass people. And ultimately, you got to find clear tracks. You got to get yourself to the top to make sure your car can split. But you also have to be able to make this pass.
Right.
And I like this. I mean, I know Blaney's probably a little frustrated because he can't quite get where he wants to get on the racetrack, but this is racing right here. And in my eyes, you're going to learn more doing this than you will just by ripping the boards. Now, let's see what he does. Now he's cleared the 43. Merrick Jones. Where does he go? Still not up all the way to the racetrack, kind of in the middle. Others are higher.
Just 9.5 minutes left to practice in this first group. And Blaney's down in 18th of 19 cars.
Yeah, but that's just his fast lap. I actually think his long run speed is really good. I don't know if he had traffic on his first lap or if it just didn't take off. I mean, it was a long ways off. And I do think that also helps your long run. You don't abuse the tires. But, you know, he's now 17 laps into the run.
We saw that last week, too. None of the Penske cars took off with great speed, but they all had really good speed in the race.
He's third best on his 15-lap run. As we go to Martin Truex Jr., who was in the mix, and he was pretty swift last weekend, but he was right in the middle of that most talked about incident involving Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick. So we continue, as the car moves around a little, we continue to ask the question, just how well can this 19 team finish Martin Truex's final season as a full-time driver? He's a race winner here in Miami. And it would bring a lot of joy to a lot of people to see this car out in front. Maybe, just maybe, there's 3 opportunities left.
It amuses me how the story of practice has changed, Jeff. When we had 90 minutes of practice, we would never go out and make a 20-lap run, even though we had 90 minutes. Now we only have, 15 minutes yet. They're going to go out there and make at least 20 laps, if not more. It just comes down to the set of tires, right? With only one set of tires, if you go in and out a couple times, I'm not sure you're just going to learn what you want to figure out.
One guy doing double duty this weekend is the Dinger, AJ Allmendinger. Here he is, and last weekend was a truly joyous occasion as this guy locked himself into the NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship 4. And have you ever seen somebody celebrate so hard? He loved it.
It's been a trying year for AJ. I think SVG's taken away a few of those wins to the road courses, but now that he's racing for a championship on Saturday, I think he's going to really enjoy racing here on Sunday. And this is a track he has back-to-back top fives with a fifth and a third. So this is a track that his experience seems to suit him. He finds a way to run what I think is above average for this college bar. I think he brings it further up in the running order on this oval than I normally would expect it on the oval. We know it's great at the road courses, but the oval's maybe a little bit short, Dave.
Steve back to full time in the Cup Series in 2025. So this year, this is his final Cup Series race as he looks toward that Xfinity Series championship. And it couldn't be better set for him than to win last week in Vegas. Yeah, the win set him towards Phoenix with a chance to win in Championship 4. The team told me for today's race on the CW later this afternoon, it's all about keeping the momentum going. I said, well, you know, you want momentum next week at Martinsville, right? With a track he runs very well. They're saying, nope, we want it today. We want it this afternoon. We're going to keep this high going. So when we go into Phoenix, we have this driver as confident as he can be. As you can tell, he's excited to be there, and he will be a threat when they go to the Phoenix Championship 4.
Right behind him is Michael McDowell. These two guys used to race each other in open wheel many years ago. Know each other's racing style very well. And Lawrence Ford. It'd be something if Michael could grab another pole position before the season's out. He's got the most of anybody with 6. Kyle Larson with 5. And his run is winding down with this organization as he heads to Spire next year. A change for the veteran, the Daytona 500 winner.
It's going to be a shift. He's done a lot with this organization, but he has to feel good about what he's seeing out of Spire. You know, they're considerably improving, you know, a considerable amount this year. So
a couple of landmarks coming up, milestones, I should say, this weekend. William Byron makes his 250th Cup start.
Wow, already?
Michael McDowell will make his 500th start at the season finale in Phoenix.
So we talk about real-world situations. Austin Cindric directly ahead of the 45 or Tyler Reddick, and Austin is up against the fence, making good, really good lap time. 45 or Reddick has caught him, but can't do anything with him. He's really where Reddick wants to be. So as he backs away, he intentionally backed away from the 2 car to give himself a little bit more clean air. Now he's going to go try to run up to him to see if he can run him down. But when he did get to him, he couldn't do anything with him. And that's the thing about this racetrack, is that you can sit out there and make great lap time, feel really good about yourself, got a fast race car, you can't pass anybody. And so how are you going to make that work? So Tyler backed off, wanted to understand what his car could do, what it couldn't do. But that 2 car, Austin Cindric, he is fast. He just drove away from him a little bit before that midway through this run.
Steve, Tyler Reddick said earlier this week, I love going to Miami and running the fence. I feel I'm pretty good at it. There's only one problem. There's another guy who's pretty good at it too. His name is Kyle Larson.
yeah, and I would add, you know, in this series, there's probably 3 or 4 others that maybe don't get the credit they deserve. I think Larson and Reddick are the standout, but, you know, Reddick, we watched him down here, Jeff, win 2 Xfinity Series championships, lap after lap after lap, run inches from the wall. And he proved to me in those races that he had the comfort up there.
Oh, we were yelling at him.
I know.
Get off the wall!
Yeah.
Davo, what you got?
25 laps in the books for Joey Logano, but that is it. He has brought the Hunt Brothers Pizza Mustang to pit road. Listen. 20 minutes practice session. You can find all the things right about your car, but Steve, you can also find some little bugs.
Well, yeah, this is where you're going to be thankful you won a week ago, right? Because this would be really, really stressful if you were in the playoffs trying to, continue to advance. And power steering has been the one thing on this car. It was a real gremlin early. I think the team's kind of got their arms around it, but still, don't you think, Jeff, that's probably still the weak link? There's probably more steering issues than anything else in this car.
Yeah, steering issues, and then when the cars get damaged, the steering rack gets damaged as well.
We saw a tremendous display of teamwork and teammateship from Ryan Blaney to Joey Logano last weekend, with Blaney, not being in contention for the win, but sat behind and helped give Joey a little bit of a push. What can this man, Bubba Wallace, do for his teammate, Tyler Reddick, this weekend? We'll watch with a lot of interest if that actually materializes tomorrow.
I think the goal for Bubba Wallace is to keep up with Tyler Reddick this weekend. He's done a nice job all year of match pace, very similar to his teammate, but this is a racetrack where Tyler's going to push it, right? He's going to make it hard for you to be able to keep up. And so coming here, that will be my goal. I want to make the same pace as Tyler Reddick.
By the way, it's a really interesting design and scheme on the 23 this weekend. We'll tell you more about it, but it's celebrating 50 years of Ronald McDonald House that has done so much, not only in the United States, but all around the world for sick kids. Just over a minute to go in this portion of practice for this first group. And here's Brad Keselowski. Watch for the 6 to be in the mix tomorrow. Where's Brad? He's 5th on the speed chart. What about on the consecutive laps? He's the best over the 5 laps. Second over the 10-lap run.
His first 5 or 6 laps were super impressive. He had a little bit of struggle around lap 10, getting it back to be, a top 7 or 8 car here in the long run. But to Jeff's point, this is one of those tracks you have to really kind of rewatch how aggressive the drivers are being, because the difference between a lane off the wall and right on the wall could be all the difference on the time chart.
And looking at those averages you were talking about, one car that stands out, Noah Gragson. He's been out there for 32 laps. This is a racetrack that Noah, I was here when he was driving for Junior Motorsports. They came down here and did a test, Steve, and the test was just to teach Noah basically how to run the top. And they came down here with spare backup quarter panels and stuff to fix the race car, and he just beat the wall to death for 2 days. He learned how to do it. And ever since that test, he has been really, really good at this racetrack, and he has got great pace here today, and you see what he's doing.
Yeah.
He is not leaving an inch from the wall. He's not going to be afraid to scuff up the side of that race car.
And he won here in Xfinity Series competition a couple of years ago. Can I ask you this? How do you get good at it? It's just reps, right? It's just
You have
reps.
to be willing to wreck.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to damage the car at some point. Because to be good here, you have to be inches from the wall. And when you do that, you cross over it, you're gonna hit it.
This is just some reflections from this section. Look how close they're getting. To Jeff's point, it's dancing a very delicate line. Is it exhilarating, Jeff, when you're that close?
Oh, it's fun. It's great fun. And it's risk first reward, which is what you want as a race car driver. It's crazy. And I thought about it the other day from a physics standpoint. It's a little hard to explain why it's so much better right against the boards as a aerodynamic.
So as Group A practice concludes, Tyler Reddick top of the speed charts with his fast lap being at 32.187, only 1/1000th of a second quicker than second place and only 3/1000ths of a second ahead of his teammate Bubba Wallace in third. Chastain was right in the middle of those two 2311 Toyotas in second. Fastest Ford in this Group A session was Michael McDowell, who did have his last top 10 at Homestead back in 2021 here. Still looking for that first top 10, I believe, with the next-gen car, but we'll see if he can get it done this weekend. Again, good short-run speed for him. Could bode well in qualifying. He's qualified well throughout the course of the year. Brad Keselowski in 5th in this group. Eric Jones 6th. Martin Truex Jr. 7th. Denny Hamlin 8th. Joey Logano 9th. And Noah Gragson rounds out the top 10. AJ Allmendinger in 11th. Justin Haley 12th. Josh Berry 13th. Austin Cindric 14th. Ty Gibbs 15th. Austin Dillon 16th, Harrison Burton 17th, Ryan Blaney 18th, and Josh Bilicki 19th. Again, that is the fastest lap from that session. Everybody ran their fastest lap on lap 1 except for Blaney, Logano, and Truex, who ran their fastest laps on lap 2. And Bilicki, I guess, on lap 6. At the tail end of the pack. So Ryan Preece, Todd Gilliland, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Daniel Suarez, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Chase Briscoe, Carson Hocevar, Alex Bowman, Zane Smith, Corey LaJoie, and Kaz Grala will be out this practice session. 20 minutes for them, and then we'll get into qualifying shortly thereafter. You're listening live on KRC to Cup Series practice at the Homestead-Miami Speedway for tomorrow's running of the Straight Talk Wireless 400.
Everywhere. And it matters.
Bond 1771, thanks for tuning in. I see you in the chat.
Interesting to see, the groups is such an interesting dynamic because that Group A you had definitely a better racetrack for speed, but is that better to learn about your car and better to make adjustments? Group B now I think has a little more representative racetrack. We'll see later.
Chase 24 car, you can see the back of the car, the diffuser hit the racetrack a little bit of low air pressure. Didn't do it through 1 and 2. He's got caught the back of the pack. And I said, just coming off pit road. See that right there? That's kind of makes you mad, right? You're the first car off pit road, and those things hurt your lap time. That's why you see some guys roll off pit road, and they'll actually let the first 4 or 5 cars go first because they want to blend in better. Byron still fastest on the board, so it didn't bother him too much.
There's a guy who we spoke about a lot, so much last weekend. Christopher Bell in the 20, led 155 laps last weekend and was denied the win. He was gutted, to say the least. The in-car radio was an uncharacteristic, highly emotional and pretty annoyed Christopher Bell, and you can understand why. He got so close to the victory after dominating the day.
Ended up being a split strategy. Joe Logano out there on old tires saving gas, 20 on pressure tires, trying to run him down, and he really came down to 1 or 2 laps of traffic. The 20 had a little bit of an issue with the 42 one time and trying to lap another car as well, and that's what it looked like at the finish, the less than 1 second back.
Christopher Bell, he and Larson both second and third fastest in this group. Zane Smith fastest, but they both ran the bottom of both ends of the racetrack to run those at that pace. And both of those guys are talking about some people will roll off the end of pit road and let several go. You look out in front of Christopher Bell, there's no track, nothing, completely clean racetrack. He and Larson both, they went film, and that gap got them what they wanted, and that is clean air, as opposed to what the 24 Byron, he's had to pass 2 race cars. So little things, Steve, not that it's wrong, but depending on what your objective is, do you want clean racetrack or not? Those guys completely committed to get clean racetrack and had a plan to do it.
If there is something that can calm or motivate Christopher Bell after the disappointment of last weekend, Steve, it's the comfort in knowing of how well he raced here last year, got the win, but it was an interesting way to get the win. He only emerged into the top 5 after 220 laps, like up on the 267. He led the last 10% of the race. And when he came in that last stage, and when he came to prominence in the top 5 and then took the lead, it was with authority. So, I mean, is that a calming / motivating / comforting thought from last year, or doesn't matter?
Well, I think anytime you come to a track where you had success, it comforts a little bit. But I think when you look at the 8 drivers that are in this championship or this group of 8, nothing's very comforting. Because I can make the same argument that the reason he emerged is because Kyle Larson got into the barrels coming to pit road, and some other drivers made mistakes. So, and that's what makes this so difficult this year is Logano arguably was the one you had the toughest case to make. And yet he won. Race 1. So now of the 7 that are left, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if any of the 7 won here.
And riding along Christopher Bell. Behind him is Kyle Larson, and Kyle Larson has been running Bell down 2 to 3/4 tenths a lap. Larson had been running the bottom of the racetrack lower than Bell. Now Larson to the boards and ran 3/10 of a lap faster that lap as well. So Christopher Bell knows already that he's going to have to find more speed. This 5 car shut him down. Let's go for a ride. Let's have a listen. Kyle Larson. He didn't run against the wall because in front of him, Bell went to the wall. So Larson, looking for a little bit of clean air, decided to run a little bit lower. Again, Larson a 10th and a half quicker. It's good information. 15 and 20 back to the 14. And 14's been running about the same pace. But right now, Steve, Bell knows they got work to do.
Yeah, he is. Look, he's okay if you compare him to the field, but he's nowhere near where he needs to be comparing with the cars he needs to win for this race. I think Byron and Larson are both faster. And he knows it because that's Bell up in front, up that spoiler cam, and he sees it in the mirror.
And this is what you want when you're in the middle of the playoffs and you're on the racetrack, even in practice with other playoff guys. You want to make them mad.
All right, Mr. Multi-time race winner here. Watching Kyle Larson for the last handful of laps here. He's ripping the boards through 3 and 4, but here in 1 and 2, he's kind of mid-track. Is that the ideal line? Is that the best way to get around Homestead?
There's more flexibility in 1 and 2. We'll see a lot of guys make good lap times, not having to be right against the fence. 3 and 4 is a little less opportunity. Now, he's going to do it down here because he has no choice. Right? Bell's up where he wants to be. So watch what happens. Bell lets it go. Bell actually just did not contest that spot whatsoever. But he's going to drive away from Christopher.
About halfway through the race last year, Kyle Larson had a whopping 5.5 second lead, and as Steve mentioned earlier, he lost a lot of that late in the run. He won the first stage, by the way, but then he had that really crazy moment just over the 200 lap mark where he was coming into the pits and he was hustling so hard, racing Ryan Blaney to pit road, that he ended up smashing into the barrels, the sand-filled barrels on pit entry. Watch this as a reminder. Pretty crazy stuff, Jeff.
Yeah, just trying to make up time, getting on pit road, shit overshoots it. That's what happens when you push, right? You're trying to get everything, and you're pushing that hard. It's easy to go over the line. Oh. When you do that as a driver, you feel so dumb, right? You feel like, oh my God, how am I this bad of a race car driver? But it's part of the game. I mean, it's just part of
How am I this bad of a race?
mistakes you have to be willing to make. Obviously, that's a big one, but you can roll in there and never make a mistake getting on pit road, and then on Monday morning, they're all going to sit down with you and ask you why in the world you're so slow getting on pit road.
Is the WellCare Chevy for Spire Motorsports. Zane Smith is going to make his first Cup Series start tomorrow here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Did well here in the Truck Series, by the way. Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. It's a busy weekend here in Florida. So at the moment, on the fastest speed of the session, he tops this second group. So that's a nice start to the weekend.
Yeah, first. His teammate Hocevar at 6th. Justin Haley, third Spire car, was in the first group.
This team's got to feel good about next year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have made some good changes. Continue to make these race cars faster.
So 10 minutes left in this portion of practice for Group 2. as we go from Zane Smith to the Napa Chevy for Hendrick Motorsports and Chase Elliott. Felt for him last weekend, Steve. It looked, after that first stage, the first portion of the race, it looked like there were some clear guys who were going to be racing for the win. It was going to be Christopher Bell. It was going to be Tyler Reddick. It was going to be the 9 of Chase Elliott. And then he was right in the middle, wrong place, wrong time, getting tangled up in that wreck.
Yeah, he was kind of the middle car in that sandwich that ended up getting Reddick upside down. And the problem with the 9 is the signature has been the consistency. So now that they're behind, can they find that gear we haven't seen, right? Do they have the firepower to win? Dave?
As it's been working this practice down on the board, 15th in this group. The entry seems to be the problem. As Spotter talked about it a few laps ago, you need to work on that entry. That is where we are getting killed. And it's not always the same. It's different on both ends of the track. Entry can be a kind of an elusive thing to find. But entering the corner right here, that is where Chase Elliott needs to find some more speed.
That is the beginning of making a car go fast, is how does the car drive on corner entry. Talked about Christopher Bell struggling. Now look, he's not horrible. He's just Larson is just better than everybody else. And let's listen to what they're talking about.
I did hit the ground. That was really weird.
Sure you don't have a tire track. Right, so he said he hit the ground. Crew chief immediately said, let's make sure you don't have a flat tire. With a low air pressure tire, the car could travel more. And Christopher said the car changed that lap ahead of that. So, Steve, if, it's a big if, they have a flat tire, we'll know shortly that practice was for nothing because you have no idea when you started losing air pressure. You absolutely, if it's a low tire, you essentially have to throw that entire practice away.
Yeah, because now you're wondering, well, I thought we just had to make the car better, but if we're chasing a leak tire, are we as far off as we thought? That's going to make for a sleepless night.
And what's the fresh memory of this? It's the 12 of last weekend.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Where he ended up in the wall and had to go to a backup car. So great heads up advice there for the 20. If you think it is, bring it. Let's err on the side of caution. Let's bring it to pit road and we'll check it.
Now the other side of that is you come in there is no low tires. And then what do? Now we're not fat and the car all of a sudden changed. So what are you dealing with now?
The Joe Gibbs 20 team will check that as we go to RFK Racing's Fastenal Ford. Here's Chris Busher. Here is Chris in the lineup. He's 4th on overall speed.
Yeah, it's just they don't have the pace that they need to have right now. And Chris knows that. He doesn't have to he doesn't have to know other people's lap time. He knows his car is not driving the way he needs to drive. But they're not going to fix that right now, Steve. So this is a driver, your opportunity to go try other things, see how you can influence the way the car drives.
Had that open end and like, you have something you want to try? I can bring the car to you. Whatever we try is going to be a waste of time. So I'm okay if you say, hey, I don't need to run anymore, but don't bring it in here if you think I have something I want to put on the car and try with 6 minutes left on old tires.
So explain why you can't learn anything on old tires.
Yeah, I mean, just because these tires, one, they have very little grip. 2, they're already built up and biased to whatever the handling issue you have right now. They cycle very differently. So in the Xfinity Series, maybe I would make a change because with the limited tires, you might have to have a restart on old tires. But in the Cup Series, every time a yellow comes out, unless we have an unbelievable rash of yellows, you're going to get a brand new set of tires, and the car just fires off and drives differently.
All right, let's go back to Christopher Bell and keep that investigation open. Dave, what's the latest?
Steve reported the car tight, reported the car hit the ground, brought the car to pit road. Crew chief Adam Stevens just told me the right front was indeed down. So, Jeff, your worst fears are wasted practice, perhaps, for Christopher Bell and the 20 team.
Yeah, and that's, now what you have to do is you have to kind of rely on your teammates. What kind of practice did you guys have? What were you feeling? The reason why is because you don't know when the air pressure started to leak. And when you start having air come out of a tire, it completely changes the way the car drives. And so, what did you learn in this practice? And Steve, this is where leadership really, really matters. This is where leadership, understanding how you look at data, understanding how you use your teammates' information. This is when crew chiefs really earn their pay right here.
Well, and that's why you have to have so many engineers and so many people. Remember, his 3 teammates, the 11, the 19, and the 54, were all in the first group. So the track would have been a little different. So now you have to understand where your car setup is versus those 3. There's just a lot of details that go into that. You need to know that before you ever got here, right? Whether you were going to lean on them or not, you needed to have all that time and all that studying done.
They got to turn 17 laps before bringing the 20 to pit road. There's 4 minutes left in this session, and he is the second playoff driver with an issue today, the other one being Joey Logano and that suspected power steering issue.
Talk a lot about playoff drivers because it's championship winning time, but everybody's still racing. And this 14 car, much like the 10 car, his teammate in the first practice, he is a standout. If you look at lap times, I could make a case that he has the best race car on the racetrack. That includes the 5 of Larson. This lap obviously is going to get slow because he had to get by the 31. But if you look at the laps prior, that
2/10 quicker.
the car was better than everybody on the racetrack.
Has yet to have a top 15 result here in Homestead, Chase Briscoe. So let's see if that turns around this weekend. It's certainly off to a positive start.
A unique line right there, Steve.
Well, that's what I was going to say is you mentioned his teammate, Noah, for instance, who was in the first group. I thought Noah, I just assumed that Noah was making it look good because he was right on the wall. But this 14 is kind of all over the racetrack, yet still able to pass cars and still able to keep his lap time up. He's running Larson down, actually. I have Byron probably even a little better than Larson.
Larson's been running the very bottom of the racetrack. Briscoe drives in, smokes the bottom, it's kind of the bottom, not very slides, and then to the wall.
Now it's like me iRacing. Not by choice. Start on the bottom, end on the top. I needed every bit of racetrack.
See, I think Larson, right in front of the 14, you talked about it earlier. You really have to look at what people are doing to analyze lap time. So he is going to go slower down there, especially off of 4. Leaving the bottom on 4, there is no speed over there. You can make it work off of 2. With 4, it is really difficult. Larson's just backed off. He's not even.
Wonder if you make his case, see what this 14 is doing. Maybe he might run a lap behind the 14.
Larson loves this place, maybe because of the ripping the boards aspect. He said, I wish we could come to Homestead a couple of times a year. It's that much fun.
He's getting on pit road right here.
Not too many were able to do what he did last year here. He was able to make the high line work and the low line work.
And you wonder if that's not the feel he just tried right there.
Yeah.
Forget lap time. We get to a certain amount of confidence. You don't care about the lap time. You know your car's good. You know you're good. Your team's good. It truly is gathering data. So Larson might have said, I remember how my car felt around the bottom last year. Let me just go run 3 laps to see if it has any of those characteristics. And that's why, you were asking about Bell coming back here. We talk a lot about confidence coming to the racetrack and all these things. But sometimes what we don't talk about enough is that, do you as a race car driver really know how a car should feel? Now, you want to drive good. That's easy. But there's this feel, Jeff, right? But then finally you go to that track one time and you have the dominant car and you register in your mind how that car felt. And then you kind of have a goal to adjust to.
Ronald Suarez right here, currently 11th fastest in this group. Not think he is happy with his car on old tires.
He enjoyed a little bit of sweetness last weekend, fellas. Led 57 laps, top 3 finish. That felt pretty good for the one-time playoffs driver.
Just for comparison, that last lap by Suarez, a 35 flat on lap 32. You talk about Briscoe on lap 32, a 34.40. So over half a second faster. And we'll see that at this racetrack, Steve. We'll see some guys that flat out hit it during the race, and they are flying. And in practice, 14 has it.
All right, so practice concluding now for Group B's 20 minutes, and we will head into qualifying at the top of the hour. Tyler Reddick fastest overall in practice with a 32.187 and an average lap speed of 167.77 miles per hour. Ross Chastain second quickest, Bubba Wallace third, Michael McDowell fourth, Brad Keselowski in fifth, Eric Jones sixth, Martin Truex Jr. seventh, Denny Hamlin eighth, Joey Logano ninth, Zane Smith 10th. Now Zane Smith was quickest overall in Group B. Noah Gragson 11th from Group A. Same for AJ Allmendinger in 12th and Justin Haley 13th. Kyle Larson 14th was second fastest of the Group B drivers. Christopher Bell would have been the third fastest in Group B. And then obviously Chris Buescher up there on the leaderboard as well. Would have been fourth. Then Stenhouse, then Hocevar, fifth, sixth. So qualifying set to begin at 10 a.m., I believe. So about a 10-minute cool down period here before we get into Group A session of qualifying. And we will take our next break. Thank you all for listening live on this early morning stream. Probably the earliest start time to a stream in KRC history. We've had some other morning streams earlier in the year with practice and qualifying for the Cup Series, usually around like 10, 9:30 maybe, 11 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, 9 a.m. Eastern time. I've been up for a couple hours now, getting everything ready to go for the streams here today. Got a triple header of coverage for you. NASCAR Xfinity Series race will be our main event for today. That'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. After this stream, in a couple of hours from now at noon Eastern Time, we will go live for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. All that action obviously taking place here at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. So we'll get qualifying again going shortly right here on this stream. You're listening live to Straight Talk Wireless 400 action here at Homestead-Miami Speedway on KRC.
All four tires. Was that practice a wash based on the right front going down?
It's going to be hard to say, but I don't think so. I think we got a number of competitive laps, and yeah, we learned a little bit. But I'm very thankful that I was able to catch it, and these guys gave me good direction to bring it in, because if you drag the underbody on these cars, it's pretty much a weekend ruiner. So I think we got away with one there.
Didn't quite get away with one last week. You're a little frustrated about that. How'd you get over having to give up what you thought was going to be maybe a Vegas win?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, but whenever you close the chapter on that Monday night, and you realize that you're sitting here plus 42, we feel good about where we're at, and we know that at Homestead and at Martinsville, we're gonna have to basically do the same thing we did. We're gonna have to be competing for wins, getting stage points, and having good races. So, yeah, I think that practice was very productive for us. The car wasn't exactly where we needed it to be. Still had good pace, for the one lap speed. So. Yeah, I think it was productive practice for us.
Can you describe that one lap where you said it was tight, and then the next lap?
Practice long, like my hands were super steady, and that's generally a sign that you're too tight here. And then all of a sudden, like the corner before, I go in there and I'm having to add some corrections to it. And then whenever I got into 3 and 4, there's a little bit of roughness, and I hit the track. And I didn't even hit the track on low air pressure whenever we took off, so I knew that wasn't a good indication, and they said just bring it in, and fortunately we did before we drug the underbody.
Thank you. Nice save, and good luck in qualifying.
Thank you.
Jeff, that's not easy to do, right?
Well, I think it's, awareness is really important and not being in denial. And I also thought it was interesting. He felt like he didn't, that practice wasn't a complete waste, right? They had some few laps that he felt pretty good about it. I think what you can do, Steve, is you can assume the first few laps, first 3 or 4 laps, the tire was good. At that point, you don't know when it started to leak, because I know it all of a sudden more air was coming out of it because it was traveling more. But when did the slow leak start? That's
Right.
the part that you don't know.
And you may have seen the news earlier this week, and it's sad news of the sudden passing of Alan Miller. Alan was a very prominent attorney in the world of motorsports and sport, and a sports agent that represented and assisted many of the drivers who many of your favorite drivers and athletes, and certainly had a really significant period and position within the sport. So it's with sad news that we pass on our condolences to Alan's family. He certainly helps some of the biggest names in the sport onto greater and bigger things, and managed many careers of drivers that you know and love. So our thoughts are with Alan's family. So this brief period of pause is the transition between practice and qualifying. And you can see the sweat on the drivers' faces here. We're climbing into the mid to high 70s, getting closer to 80 degrees here in South Florida. On the beginning of a very busy day, Cup practice, Cup qualifying, truck racing later today, Xfinity Series racing, all leading up to tomorrow's Straight Talk 400, which is the second race in the round of 8. As we head to Dave Burns. So have you found, Davo?
That'd be Joey Logano with just a small matter of power steering at 180 miles an hour plus. What was going on there?
I wish I knew. we would be able to fix it, but it just seemed like it was locking up as it was going. So probably have to take a look at that after qualifying, which yeah, it's not one of the approved changes, I don't believe. So we'll have to figure that one out later. But we can still qualify for a starting spot or a pit stall at least. And I think our Hunt Brothers Pizza Mustang is pretty good on the long run. Kind of where we've been. We're good on the long run, not so great on the short run. So we'll try to give the short run some loving for tomorrow and get the power steering working as well.
So wait, can you trust it?
Sure. Sure. Say a prayer. Hopefully it works. I don't know. I mean, you just got to go down there and then assume it's going to work. It didn't completely shut off on me, so it's just kind of tightening up. So it's still drivable at the end. You get nervous because it never hit a plateau. It's just still progressing and getting worse. So I think I'll be fine for qualifying, and then we'll figure it out later.
All right, be careful with that. Crew Chief Paul Wolf did tell me they inspected it. Physically, it didn't have anything leaking or the data all looked good. So from all those standpoints, yes, Joey can trust it.
It's amazing how problems seem like not such big problems when you won last week and you know you're going off to Phoenix to win a championship, trying to win a championship. Completely different mindset than if you were here in the battle. And he mentioned that he didn't think that's on the approved change list. So if they do have to change it, he could have to go to the back and qualify and essentially start dead last. So he didn't seem to mind it too much, Steve.
Well, let's show you what power steering failure looks like.
Chad Fincham just getting out onto the racetrack to begin his qualifying lap. He'll be the first to go out for Group A. AJ Allmendinger will be the second driver to go out, followed by Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, Josh Berry. Then Brad Keselowski, Austin Cindric, Michael McDowell, Noah Gragson, and Justin Haley will be the first 10 drivers in this group of 19. Top 5 will advance into the second and final round of qualifying to have a shot to go for the pole. And that will be the same, obviously, for Group B as well. We'll be qualifying after all the Group A drivers will go first. Same groups as we had for practice. And as Fincham lays his lap time down, working himself off of turn 4, 33.794 for Chad Fincham on lap number 1. So AJ Allmendinger will be next. Back-to-back top 5s for AJ in the NASCAR Cup Series here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Third a season ago, fifth in 2022, both with Colleague Racing. And we will see what 2024 will bring. AJ driving part-time this season, but full-time next year back in the Cup Series at Colleague. Locked himself into the Xfinity Series Championship 4 with a win at Las Vegas on the Xfinity Series side of things last Saturday. So Javi is still going to be in that race again later today. Double duty this weekend. And I believe him and Josh Bilicki would have been the only drivers to do double duty here today. Now, it's weird that Chad Fincham is qualifying the 66 car, because wasn't Bilicki in that car in qualifying? I thought it was. At least on our speed chart, I could have swore it said Josh Bilicki's name. But now Chad Fincham is in the 66, unless that was a typo earlier. I swear Bilicki practiced that car. But Fincham qualifies it, nevertheless. Maybe there's a driver's meeting going on for the Xfinity Series. I don't know. AJ to the top of the speed charts, by the way, ran a 32.637, or at least was at the top of the speed charts. Then AJ Allmendinger preceded by Austin Dillon. Dillon runs the fastest time of the three that have hit the track so far for qualifying, 32.597 for Austin. Still trying to get by the mile-and-a-half track woes for himself that he has struggled on throughout the course of 2024. Last mile and a half on the schedule. Then we go to the two shorter, flatter tracks. Half-mile short track next week at Martinsville, and obviously the 1 mile flat short track at Phoenix for the finale. Eric Jones, fourth driver for qualifying. Rough season for him. Missed a couple races with a back injury earlier in the year following a crash in the spring Talladega race, and hasn't really rebounded for consecutive success and good runs in this car. Had sprinkles of good finishes at times throughout the course of the season. But looking for speed here this weekend, is so far fastest of these first four qualifiers. 32.577 for Eric Jones, topping Dillon, Allmendinger, and Fincham. Josh Berry will be next. Berry's had a tough season this year. Started off the year pretty strong. Remember him being top 20 in points through the first third to maybe first half of the regular season. And then really started to fade in that late summer stretch heading into the playoffs. Playoffs haven't gone his way. 10 DNFs for Josh Berry this season, most in the series by 3 over the next closest drivers in that DNF list. So a lot of crashing out of races here for Berry as of late. And it's really taken him out of the Rookie of the Year honors, as Carson Hocevar's all but got that locked up so far into these final 3 races of the season. It would take a miraculous effort these last 3 weeks for Berry to get back in, but I guess you never know what could happen. Trying to keep the fight alive there, and keeping the fight alive here on Saturday as well, qualifying to the top of the speed charts, 32.383 for Josh Berry, and that was a pretty good lap time. Almost 2 tenths quicker than Eric Jones. First of 5 consecutive Fords to qualify here. As next we will have Brad Keselowski. And Brad out on the racetrack. 9 top 5 finishes for Keselowski this season, but only 1 in these last 9 races. So a bit of a rough spell for him as well. He was eliminated in the round of 16 of the playoffs. Can still mathematically finish his highest 5th in the points standings. Comes into this day. We'll check that out real quick. I actually don't know exactly where some of those playoff drivers are that have been eliminated. Keselowski is currently 14th in the point standings. So trying to get a top 10 points finish at the very least. Bit of a gap between himself and Ty Gibbs in 13th. But then you got Gibbs pretty much right on top of Truex there, right around 10th. So it's not impossible if he has a few good runs. And this is a track that has been well for him in the next-gen era. So Keselowski wrapped his lap time up. Not as fast as Josh Berry, but quicker than all the Toyotas and the Chevy so far. 32.465 for Keselowski, P2. And Austin Cindric going to wrap his lap time up shortly thereafter. 32.810 for Cindric. That puts him to 6th. Cindric 11th in the point standings, was eliminated in the round of 12 of the playoffs. 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 6 top 10 finishes for Cindric here this season. 256 laps led, 4 stage wins in his 3rd full-time Cup Series season, all in the 2 for Penske Racing. And Michael McDowell has had a couple of good runs in his Cup career here at Homestead, trying to have another one. Was top 5 in practice, so we'll see what he can have here for qualifying. Currently tracking in the green at least to break into the top 5. But it doesn't look promising that it's going to be a lap time that will hold into the top 5 through the end of the session. 3rd, 32.510, so 3 Fords topping the leaderboard right now, and Noah Gragson, another Ford, will be next up for SHR, and his teammate Josh Berry's at the top of the speed charts. So we'll see what Gragson will bring to the table. 25th in points is Gragson this year, only 1 top 5 finish, 7 top 10s, but the shining moments have been on these mile-and-a-half tracks for Gragson this year. So could have a good weekend. Here's Denny Hamlin with an interview on pit road. I'm going to rewind it so you can catch all of that interview.
Feel you like at Homestead in that practice?
It was close. Still got some tweaking to do, certainly, but overall the camera is pretty decent. Just got to tweak on the short run and obviously do my job out here in qualifying.
They tweak it right, and he does his job. Fast in qualifying, guys.
All right, so I did have to rewind it a little bit to get to that Denny Hamlin interview. Didn't want you guys to miss out on that. Noah Gragson, in the meantime, qualifies second right behind his teammate Josh Berry. About 0.03 of a second off of him, a 32.418. So again, gets him to second of these first 9 qualifiers. And now Justin Haley, the 10th driver out on the racetrack currently for Spire Motorsports. Haley at times last week was running inside the top 10. Unfortunately, did not finish there by the end of the race, but had some good speed there in that middle portion. From the end of stage 2, early going to stage 3, it was looking like he was going to get about a top 8 finish, but really faded on that last long green flag run of 69 laps from the last caution to the restart. And obviously the end of the race. It was one of the longer green flag runs again the entire day. Good qualifying speed showing right now for Haley. Couple tenths to the good. Top of the speed charts as well, 32.375. So really showing up here. Spire cars have qualified fairly well throughout the course of the season. Haley's been out qualified by his teammates that have been at Spire all year of Hocevar and not LaJoy, Hocevar and Smith so far. Smith was fastest overall in Group B practice. So maybe not as shocking that he is the top time of these first 10. Again, at 32.375, only 0.08 of a second quicker than Josh Berry. So our last 9 qualifiers in this order that you see on screen will be Ty Gibbs, then Harrison Burton, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano. Rewind it again so we can get the interview with Ross Chastain now.
What do you expect out of the 1 car based on practice?
I think a lot of speed for Kubota Chevy. Right off the rip here, it was the long run we got to worry about, but that's for tomorrow's worries. Right now, go rip a lap here and commit a lot of throttle. It's awesome to be home. Close to Fort Myers, get to see the family. Breakfast all 4 of my grandparents yesterday, so coming into the weekend just feels good to be home. But now I get to hold my breath for a lap.
Lee Diffie has a quick question, if you will. Diff, go ahead.
Hey, Davo, he recently went to the Florida Watermelon Association convention in Fort Myers. Ask him how it was.
Watermelon Association convention in Fort Myers. How was that? And were you recognized?
Yeah, over in Sanibel. Yeah, everybody in the Florida Watermelon Association, everybody involved in watermelons that ships and sells out of Florida was there, and they're still there, crowning our 2025 Watermelon Queen that you'll see at the track and at promotions across the state and the country. So, yeah, everybody got together. We had a lot of good fellowship and a good dinner last night, and just a lot of people that believed in me before anybody else in the world knew who Ross Chastain was. They're the main reason you saw watermelons on these race cars.
Lee, you love it when you can go thank those folks, and he did it in person.
Can you imagine the joy they feel when
Chastain is going to be qualified here in just a couple more trips from where we're going to see Ty Gibbs on the racetrack next. 18th in points so far is the driver of the number 1 car for Trackhouse Racing, Ross Chastain. 1 win, 6 top 5s, and 13 top 10s on the season for Ross. And got that lone win earlier in the playoffs on the last mile and a half track we were at Kansas. Second to last, at Kansas. So Ty Gibbs is now on track. Let's see what kind of lap time he's going to put down.
Just forgot. It's big with that many people. So I do think that when they're going to try to be as prepared as possible, but they're going to overlook something. It's natural. You can't be perfect. So I do think there's going to be a learning curve. Now, there's going to be some places when you unload, to think you have 3 cars, it's going to be an advantage.
Talking about multi-car teams, here's Joe Gibbs Racing. Ty Gibbs in the Monster Toyota Camry. His lap is on, and he's just snuck into the green.
Carried a lot of speed into turn 1. See what his approach is up here. Much right to the middle of the racetrack. As a driver, it's very odd. You have to get to the top sooner at this racetrack than you do most mile and a half. You almost turn it right to get up there, Dick, but you got to have the discipline to not keep turning the wheel. You have to let the car roll up to the top so you can stay in the gas and keep that momentum to get that front straightaway speed.
So it's a Chevrolet, leads a Ford, leads a Toyota in the top three at the moment. Enter the Dix Imaging Ford for Wood Brothers. Here's Harrison Burton.
At Green coming to the speed, gave a little up on corner entry, but still very close within reach. A good 3 and 4 can move him into the top 5. We'll see what his approach is.
It's about a tenth of a second off at the moment.
So if you're on the top, you have to give up time going in. The problem is it's just not coming back. Well, it's pausing now, and it's coming back, but you got to hit the start-finish line. That's where it's funny, because if the start-finish line was on the other side, it'd be no doubt in my mind you'd run the top of what is now 3 and 4, but you just don't get the gain back. I'm actually not. I'm more surprised people aren't running the tippity top coming to the green.
And so I was interested speed on the 21 right there with Cindric. So two Penske cars left to go behind them. Still tons of information going to those two cars because neither one were happy with their Q laps.
Which is kind of shocking because I would have said years ago that Penske's signature was the short run. Like in general, what's their thumbprint? Their thumbprint in at Richmond and here is they're going to beat you on the short run. You're going to beat them on the long run. And here the last couple of weeks, it has really completely swapped.
23-11's Bubba Wallace has got a monster lap going here. This looks really good for the 2-2-1-9 P1. It sure is.
So what do we say in practice? To me, the goal for Bubba Wallace and this team is to have the same pace as Tyler Reddick, his teammate, because Tyler is so fast here.
Just heard from Ross Chastain. Here is the Kubota Chevy for Trackhouse Racing. Let's get it going.
It's tight. Car doesn't turn the way he wants it to turn.
Ross is going to love this lap with 5 or so still to go. This lap's going to, and he's going to be starting deep in the field.
With 7 in this group.
And I'm assuming the playoff car, assuming the next 5 all have to pace to beat him. It's going to be somewhere outside the top 20.
Truex is up next, followed by Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Joey Logano, who is already locked in to the championship 4. Here we go with Mark.
3 races left. The rest of this season. So Truex, end of this year, he's going to run full time anymore. This is a racetrack I feel like he could get a win. I always feel like he runs fast here, likes moving around.
You know what? You know the way luck will have it. He won't win any race in these next 3. He'll come back part-time to do the Daytona 500 next year and win.
In this corner exit speed.
Truex to second.
I reckon that have smart Truex.
Yeah. A little bit of feedback there from James Small, crew chief to Mark Truex. So it's Toyota 1 and 2 at the moment as we pick up the second Team Penske Ford. Now, is Ryan Blaney's pace going to be emblematic of the two who have come before with the sister team with Harrison Burton and Wood Brothers and Austin Cindric? Or is it going to be better? Is it going to be the Stuart Haas Fords?
So far, better. His car pointed in the middle of 1 and 2. Better than what I thought Cindric's car did.
First playoff car we've seen.
And a long way.
Yeah, climbed the banking there. Did not want to turn down the hill.
Where
Disappointment.
Ryan Blaney out of the top 5. He's 8th.
No grip.
So far, you've got 3 Toyotas, 1 Ford, 1 Chevy in the top 5. Tyler Reddick on track.
This car has grip, lots of it. Extra, an abundance of grip at this point.
Almost 0.2 of a second to the good. This is a great lap so far. Tyler Reddick is going to match his teammate Bubba Wallace here. Could be a 23-11-1-2. To the line with a huge lap. Look at that. Teammates first and second.
Teammates first and second, and all playoff drivers need a good run, and he's okay in the points, but a spark. Douglas 11 just needs a spark to kind of get it going the right way. Even qualifying, I think, would get it done. If he could go out here and qualify on the pole or the front row, maybe that would be enough.
As a crew chief, is that even for the morale? Like, just to help the gang?
Sometimes you just need to get kind of knocked out of your fog.
Yeah.
You know, the season's so long, you can kind of walk through the motions.
That car bottomed out in
That's
the
right.
corner.
Getting some time back.
There you go.
Getting time back. Here comes Hamlin. It's in the green. How about this lap?
Puts him in.
Denny Hamlin puts it in fourth. And that is Toyota Camrys 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Wow.
Lock in there.
Yeah, we saw it, Denny. Into turn 3 and bottom out. We saw it. Watch right here off the back of the car. You're going to see just a little bit of smoke. He kind of goes over the bumps. That's pretty normal. But as he turns down in 3, it's the diffuser that hits. Boom. Yeah, we see it.
All right, final car in this group, Joey Logano.
Potential steering issues. We heard that in practice and said it was going to go out. Just trust it.
Well, just not the pace. None of the Penske's have had the pace in qualifying trail. They all look pretty decent in race trail, but it will. Laney's going to qualify. He'll start the race 20th. Logano 26th.
Jeez.
Yikes.
Tough qualifying day for Team Penske. All 3 of those drivers in Group A. Your fast 5 from this group: Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Justin Haley gets that final spot in 5th. So 4 Toyotas and a Chevy, no Fords. 32.126 fast lap for Tyler Reddick. And as far as the drivers 6 through 19, 6, you got Josh Berry, who just missed the cut, Ty Gibbs. And we'll have to wait on that because our leaderboard just changed in the middle of me reading it. Here's Christopher Bell on pit road standing with Dave Burns. Zane Smith, excuse me. Sorry, Zane Smith. It looked like Bell with the sunglasses.
Started practice for 10 we're qualifying. So obviously a really good well-care Chevy that Spire Motorsports prepared. Excited for tomorrow. This is probably one of the best mile and a half cars I've had all year. So always love coming here. Always been a good place for me. So excited for it.
How tight is it then in qualifying? You and I were just talking about that. It just seems like you've really got to step up that part of your game if you're going to be close.
Yeah, I mean, track position is literally everything. These cars drive completely different from when you get inside the top 10, top 15. So trying to position yourself there for Sunday completely changes your day. So need to have a good lap here and set ourselves up for a good weekend.
All right, good luck. Tyler Reddick, lay down the gauntlet. Zane Smith will have.
Interesting to see what Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar could do in qualifying here for Group B, considering that the only Spire car was the only non-Toyota to make it into the Fast 5 in Group A. The only 2 Toyotas, though, that are in Group B, John Hunter Nemechek and Christopher Bell, after positions 1 through 4 were swept by 2 JGR Toyotas, and the top 2 were the 2311 Toyotas of Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. You can see the order on screen in which they'll qualify. 38 cars this weekend, so 19 in each group. The 2 open drivers, the 66 and the 44 of Fincham and Yaley. Yaley in the 44 will lead things off for Group B qualifying. After him will be Kaz Gralla, then Todd Gillen, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Daniel Hemrick. The next 5, Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie, Chase Briscoe, Zane Smith, and Carson Hocevar. That'll take us through the end of the first 10. J.J. Yaley out on track right now. So we'll listen in again.
The new car, it's to push the diffuser down against the ground. That's why these cars are built the way they are. That's why they're inspected the way they are. That's why there's rub blocks, there's travel limiters, because the closer the diffuser gets to the ground, the more it squishes the air, which speeds it up, which pulls it from underneath the car, and it just sucks the car. Can you stand it? Because that was, did you see into 3? Everything's great. You qualified inside the top 5, but I don't know, a couple 100,000 slower. Does the bottoming out so severe that you get into the wall? You do that with air pressure and a lot of different adjustments.
And if the folks at home are wondering, when you see the diffuser, that carbon fiber diffuser stripe like that, does that do much damage, or it's not a big deal?
Well,
I mean, it does some damage. I think you know you're going to drag some of it off, so it's not a big deal. You get to a point where you're dragging off more than your competitors, and it does start to hurt downforce. Because remember, the the rear tires gain air pressure, and then it comes up off the ground.
Here's the 44 of JJ Yaley. Half a dozen starts this season, and he's going to get us going for Group 2. And the reference point is the fastest time from Group 1, Tyler Reddick, at a 32.1. There's a lap just under a second off Reddick's pace.
That's a decent lap, though. You think about this team doesn't run very much. It's very hard to go against these guys that race every single week, and that's a pretty decent lap considering that.
Well, it's not far off Austin Cindric's lap.
Exactly.
Kaz Grala, the meat and bone machine on track.
Haven't heard Kaz Grala's plans for next year. Kaz has done a nice job in this car when he's had a chance to run it.
It's going to be a pretty good lap right here. So it's going to be maybe in the mid 32s. We'll see. Up against Kaz Grala, 32.6 for Kaz. As he leapfrogs JJ Yaley. Next out on track. Let's keep it rolling. Front Row Motorsports, Todd Gilliland.
Well, talk about a driver that's fallen in love with golf. You mentioned Hamlin.
This guy right here spends a lot of time on the golf course. I think he's a great young talent. I love his attitude behind the race car. He just appreciates every conversation I have when we're talking about the tough conversations, not running well, the negatives, the mistakes, whatever it may be. His perspective on it, Jeff, I think is right for his age. He believes he has his best years ahead of him, and he understands a lot of that's part of the learning process.
And right here, you can see the lap time going the wrong way. This is this team's issue.
Yes.
I mean, they race well, but Saturdays do not go well for them. They dig themselves, and it's very hard to get out of it. So just not good qualifying. That's something that Michael McDowell leaving this team next year. Michael has been a very good qualifier, but that hasn't translated. So next year, I think that will have to be a point of emphasis on how does this team qualify better.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Positive start to the lap.
Some new colors on the Kroger machine. Got some yellow in the middle of this thing. Look at the hood.
Shimmering of the hood there. 0.3 of a second to the good for Stenhouse so far. So good. And it's getting even better. Better and right up against the wall. Wow, that was close.
I'll give him credit for all track used at 27. That would be good enough in the first round to make the top 5. Wow.
He had good pace at first into practice, too. I watched some of his lap times, like mid race run. Lap times were really competitive.
To Daniel Hemrick now. On track. With everybody going. Yikes. That was quite the lap from Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Best of Group 1. Tyler Reddick at a 32.1. Ricky Stenhouse at a 32.7. That's quite the pace early on in this second group.
And a lot goes into a qualifying lap, but best spot right here in the corner for Ricky Stenhouse, a car go. I think he did have to breathe in a little bit looking at the lap time, not truly looking at the throttle position, but Jeff, it was just as much as required, no extra. I mean, he used every bit of racetrack.
Good lap there from Daniel Hemrick as well.
Well, the next car up, another SHR Ford. We'll see. I know they ended up being 6th and 8th, just outside the top 5, but they had decent pace. They are the fastest of the Fords.
Just to finish that point on Daniel Hemrick, his lap would have been good enough for a top 10 in Group 1. So some good early showings here in Group 2.
This car, much like Gilliland, they don't qualify very well, but at the race last week, this 41 car, there were times in the race he definitely had top 5 speed.
Look how rough this car is in the back. So when I talk about getting it slow, there's different ways to do it. In this car, I hit those bumps on the backstretch and it continued to oscillate all the way down into the corner. That does not give a driver a good feel for the back of the race car.
Ryan Priest, 5th place speed at the moment, only quicker than JJ Yaley. Here comes Corey LaJoy.
Corey's done a nice job since sliding over to Rick Ware Racing. Last 3 races, top 3 of the last 4 races, top 20s. I think that you're driving Rick Ware Racing at this point in their development, that's what you need, is you need consistency. Rick Ware, that team are doing a really nice job of bringing very competitive race cars to the racetrack, but not quite the funding or backing that some of the bigger teams have. So it's very important to have consistency. Bring cars home that aren't wrecked so that you can keep building that.
So Corey, that comparison was to the 5th place time of Ryan Preece, and Corey is able to leapfrog Preece to hold on to that 5th spot for the time being. Saw some pretty swift speed earlier out of this 14 Stuart Haas Ford of Chase Briscoe. Let's see what it can do now.
I know we're working on crowning a champion in the Cup Series, but it's going to be an emotional 3 weeks for this Stuart Haas racing camp, right? Shutting down at the end of the year. So much has been built. They're back here, which is where Kevin Harvick won their championship in 2014. Just, I can't imagine, all the people. Another car bottoming out into 3. That bump up there is real.
Didn't look as bad as Preece, though, right? Look at this.
That reminded me more of Denny Hamlin's moment.
Comparison is to LaJoy, not to first, and it's good enough to go to P3 for Chase Briscoe for now. Nice lap.
I guess the good news to the field in the second round is there's only 2 Toyotas. I say that because they're 1 through 4 in the first round.
All right. See what he can do. He was excited about his lap in practice. Let's see if he can back it up.
Again, first ever Cup weekend here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Finishes practice, P1. Starts his lap in the green. It's all very positive at the moment for Zane Smith. Lost a little time, just a bit. Can he get it back? He sure is. It's trending the right direction. Stabilized. Should be good enough to leapfrog his way, and does, to P4.
It sounds crazy. There were 10 fastest in practice. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that. Right? Still a good lap, but high expectations after practice.
Zane Smith's teammate at Spire. Carson Hocevar, leader in the Rookie of the Year standings.
He drove it off down into 1 a long ways.
Anything but a traditional lap around here. I mean, where else do you drive in the corner and then just go to the wall and they're kind of in the middle of the corner? Very odd.
Trending in the right direction for Hocevar, though. Gets to the checkered flag, and the clock says P4. He's had some outstanding qualifying performances this year in his rookie season.
He's just he's good on the go pedal. There are a lot of drivers with a lot of different skill sets. We talk about some manage races, some have feel on restarts. Everybody has a different thing. Denny Hamlin right there. He reminds me of a driver that's just always kind of thinking, a thinking man's driver. When I think of Hocevar, it's just raw speed.
Yeah.
Some of it has to be tempered perhaps at times, but I'd much rather have a guy that's really fast that has to make some adjustments than one that you try to pick up speed with.
So the guy who rolled off pit lane and said, "Watch me now," Ricky Stenhouse Jr., sets the pace with more on the driver of the 47. Here's Dave.
Lee, when you're from Olive Branch, Mississippi, you've got to support the home team. Look at the helmet this weekend for Ricky. Maybe that is the speed seeker. We don't know, but the 47 still atop the board right now as 9 cars will go out in this next group of cars. The final group, try to unseat him from the top. Maybe he can hang on and get to round 2 and maybe put Ole Miss on the pole.
In case you're wondering, it's an Ole Miss-Oklahoma showdown this weekend.
I want to ask you so many questions, but I'm not going to.
18th in the country, Homo. Big favorites, nearly a 3-touchdown favorite over Oklahoma. Sure, Ricky will be watching.
On a more serious note, with JTG Doherty Racing, the crew went to Asheville just a couple of days ago, including Ricky, to help out in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. And the continuing work. There's so much of it in Western North Carolina. Everybody affected by those back-to-back hurricanes in Florida, in Georgia, in Tennessee, Western North Carolina. We can't, just because it's a few weeks ago in the rearview mirror, we can't forget about it. And certainly NASCAR and its teams has not forgotten and continues to do a lot. Joey Logano just said yesterday in his press conference, he said, I can't tell you about it yet, but with some of my partners, I'm surrounded by great people. He said, I've got some really exciting things coming in the works. I'll be able to tell you about it shortly, where people have come to me. And some of my partners have said, just tell us what we can do. And he said, I'm going to announce that there's some really cool things where he said, I'm not taking my foot off the help pedal. That's for sure.
Well, it's amazing how many private citizens have stepped up to help, non-NGOs, non-governmental organizations. I mean, it has been heartwarming to see people just raise their hand and say, okay, I want to help. And it's still going on today, weeks after the tragedies. And it makes you proud to be part of this country.
On track now as Group 2's qualifying continues. We've established the top 5 from Group 1. That's Tyler Reddick, his teammate Bubba Wallace, Mark Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Justin Haley. We'll see them again in the top 10 showdown. That's where John Hunter Nemechek would like to be, but he's a tenth of a second off the top 5 at the moment. Family Dollar Machine is getting some time back, but it won't be enough. 7th for Nemechek. So we just watched Chase Briscoe and his run, and he sits in the middle of the top 5 at the moment. Let's hear from him.
Yep, and Nemechek didn't knock him down. Can you hang on in the first group here and move on to the final round, do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it'll hang on. I would look forward to our car, our Z4 Dark Horse is extremely, extremely strong on the long run. The short run's kind of been our one thing where we just haven't had quite the speed as some of the other guys, but yeah, I feel like if I can start in the first, top 15, I would feel really good about it. So, yeah, see what we got. We definitely have a really, really good car for tomorrow, I think. Just see where this stacks up after qualifying.
Lee, I could only give him 15 lap averages, but he said, hey, if you go to 20 or 30 laps, I think I'm one of the better cars.
Yeah, well, that's what Steve and Jeff said a little earlier as Kyle Busch jumps his way into the top 5. The man who won here last in 2019 when he won his second Cup championship.
And he ran a very traditional racetrack kind of line in 1 and 2. Went to the white line, stayed on it all the way around the racetrack. Let's see what Chris does.
Chris Buescher, the RFK Racing Fastenal Ford. After Chris, it's Suarez, Bowman, and then playoffs drivers Elliott, Larson, Byron, and Bell to wrap up Group 2 qualifying.
So far, a pretty good lap right here for Chris. Struggled. Saw that car wiggle getting into 3. Struggled in practice with long run speed. They were pretty far off.
Boy, he is hustling this car. It's close. Is it enough? Doesn't look like it. 7th for Buescher. Steve, he had his hands full through 3 and 4.
Yeah, that car was definitely not stuck the way he needed it to be able to just tug on the wheel and apply the throttle. He was kind of just chasing the back, it looked like, the whole time.
A little bit of a different design this week in the Freeway Chevy for Daniel Suarez, predominantly blue.
Watch his downshift.
It was an odd location for a downshift.
So able to carry more speed in 3 and 4, so no need for the downshift. It shows you this racetrack, it might look the same from one end to the other. It is not. There's less grip in 1 and 2 than there is in 3 and 4.
Oh, that's frustrating for Daniel because he was in the green right up until the run exiting turn 4 to the line. Just went away at the end. As we go to Alex Bowman, the Allied 48. And 3 races left for this one-time playoffs driver who can spin the disappointment of being DQ'd out of the playoffs after the Roval into trying to end the year on a positive for the 48. For the whole team that rallied so hard during the playoffs. This guy drove so well during the playoffs.
The first of 400 cars to go.
Stays green, does it? It does. P3 for Bowman.
Really high.
So that pushes Kyle Busch out of the provisional top 5. And now we get into playoffs drivers mode. Chase Elliott's first up.
Just gave up a ton of speed on entry, but's making most of it up on exit. Really nice job of not overdriving the corner. Talk about a completely different corner than Hocevar, who we're comparing it to.
Boy, it's dancing that line. But now the time's coming back for Chase Elliott, and it's coming back strong. It's good work. Look at that.
Yeah.
Me too.
Really nice job at both ends of the racetrack, Jeff. It's so easy to just want to drive so far into the corner, but Chase, very disciplined, didn't overdrive the corner, which means it doesn't start to slide, gets in, gets settled, and then it allows you to get back to the gas, making the next straightaway longer.
Remember earlier we gave Daniel Hemrick a lot of credit for a really good lap that was early on? It was good enough to still be P3, but he's got Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Christopher Bell to come. Here's Larson. Jeffy's got some time to play with. It's all about here.
See how close he gets to the wall, but was not able to go to the throttle with the aggression that he really wanted to. It's a good lap, but there's a little bit left out there to get it to rotate better in the middle.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a better lap in the middle of 3 and 4. So now Kyle could talk to Cliff about what the car needs to do different and decide if he needs to do something different with the controls. He'll run again.
This goes to show what a monster lap it was for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Awesome performance, still stays on top. 2 drivers to come. This is William Byron.
It's not going the way he wants it to. It's going to be hard to make up that much time at this end of the racetrack.
Especially on a teammate.
1.5 tenths off at the moment for the Valvoline Chevy. Ooh, this is not what William Byron wanted. 12th from this group. Big picture-wise in the 38 car field, that's going to put him way, way down. So the final car from Group 2, and it's the defending race winner, the Rheem Toyota of Christopher Bell. Here we go.
Such quiet hands. Always impresses me. Good car bottom out.
Little scuffing there. This is tight. This is really tight. Now the time's coming back for Christopher Bell. He's got a 1/10 of a second in hand. And he's getting more. As he comes to the line, he's going to push Bowman out of the top 5.
Cool it down.
Fastest.
To the top.
Yep.
Christopher Bell. 32.268. The playoff driver trying to make the championship 4 for the 3rd consecutive year. Defending race winner. Puts himself in the top 10. Like that.
Fastest driver from Group B in this first round. We'll see if he can do it again in round number 2, only to be the first overall. No shock, another Toyota at the top of the leaderboard, really the only competitive one up there. Here's Daniel Hemrick with a little interview on pit road as he cracks the top 5.
Team to stay behind you, but Trent Owens, everyone on the starting one super team's done a great job. Teams give me everything I need. So I appreciate everything Matt Colley, Chris Rice's done for me over the years. And yeah, I know there's only these last 3 to go, but it's fun to advance to the second round here at a racetrack. It's one of the toughest to get around. So yeah, good race car. No matter what, we're going to roll off at least 10th here. So really proud of these guys and what they continue to do for me.
You got to take us a little bit into interesting surprise. So did you do anything different? Was the car just that much better than it's been certain places this year?
Yeah, I mean, listen, everybody here on Sunday studies the same stuff, sees how to get better week in and week out, year in, year out. And I've said it all year, right? I'm driving these race cars, 9% of these racetracks for the first time. So understanding the little nuances of when to shift, how the shifting affects the cars. So I struggled a little bit the first 2 or 3 last practice getting acclimated, but after I got out of the car practice, I felt like we're in a pretty decent spot. So
like I said, you didn't know it was going to be that much better, but the good thing is that we got another shot to go run another lap here. And then where does that put your head for the race with miles to run and lots of time to work on it? Yeah, I mean, we've had such bad track position on me, probably qualifying majority of the year, so it's going to be good to kind of be up in a lot better air and hopefully be able to attack the race and understand how to put ourselves in position as sun will start to fall there at the end of this thing and hopefully find ourselves in a spot where we can go have another solid day. Great. Thanks, Daniel. Lee, a lot of pluses there for Daniel Hemrick.
And he's finished. He's almost broken into the top 10 in his only other cup ride here. And as far as when you heard Daniel say to Dave Burns there, it's nice to be in the top 10. Well, he was there just a couple of races ago at Talladega. So another good qualifying performance from Daniel Hemrick.
To do it on a 1.5-mile track, though, definitely impressive. Your Fast Five from Group B, Christopher Bell, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Daniel Hemrick with that final spot in 5th. Now the Toyotas overall had the fastest 5 times. Well, 4 times, technically. Fastest 4. Never mind, I had it right the first time. Stenhouse had a 32.270. So fastest 3 times for the Toyota. Then you would have Stenhouse 4th between the 10 that are in this final 10. And then you have Truex and Hamlin right behind Stenhouse, 5th and 6th, before you get to those Hendrick Chevys of Larson Elliott. So it's going to be interesting to see what this final round will bring. But I'd be shocked if a Toyota does not qualify on the pole here in this race today. You got 5 of them. 5 Toyotas versus 5 Chevys, but just noticeably that much quicker out of the Toyota camp. And here's Bubba Wallace, another Toyota driver, with an interview.
Pace camp, 50 years of RMHC. Such an amazing partner for their team and myself. And the idea came about visiting a Ronald McDonald house in Dallas this year. We were coloring race cars, and I said, "Why am I not running this scheme?" So. I appreciate McDonald's jumping on board, and hats off to the teams that participated, carrying the families of some Ronald McDonald House families. We got the Pride family, which is really, really special. I always say it. There's no greater feeling. Not even getting the pole was no greater feeling than being able to give back to your community and give back to families that need it the most. So that's what it's all about. Like you said, our car's fast, so it's a good day.
What's it like when you walk in there and see those families? You don't know what they're going through, but you can kind of think, I can't imagine.
No, you can't. So you try to do your best at putting on other people's shoes and just enjoying the moment with them. Yesterday we got to pass out some cake and some cookies.
Did you? Helping kids, helping families in the Ronald McDonald.
You got to let them win the last race so they go out with self-pride and knowing that they beat you the final time they face you. But you beat them every time up until then. That is the idea I think that Bubba Wallace had as well. So as you see on the screen, that's not the order in which they will qualify. Our order of those final 10 are in numerical order. We're going to start things off with the Group A drivers, and then we'll rotate into the Group B. The 5th place finishing driver from Group A in round 1 to qualifying will go first down to the fastest driver in that round. So Justin Haley will be the first driver to qualify. Then we'll have the 4 Toyotas of Hamlin, then Truex, Wallace, Reddick. And then in descending order again, 5th through 1st for Group B. So then Daniel Hemrick will be after that. And we'll finish things off with Christopher Bell. But yeah, I'd be shocked if a Toyota does not get the pole here in this one today. Shout out to those of you tuning into this early morning stream. John Barber, DHP, Bond1771, Bones Does, Earl Arnold Jr., Caleb Moore, Wade, thanks for tuning in as well. Frank Powers, many others. Welcome into the stream. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Our first of 3 live commentary streams today. Triple header. Our Truck Series race will begin at noon Eastern Time, a little over an hour from now. And we will also have a live commentary stream for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race later this evening, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Literally about an hour of daylight where I live, and then streaming until darkness later tonight, basically, with maybe an hour gap period between the 2 streams, or the 3 streams, I guess, technically, here today. But it's going to be a long one. It'll be a fun one. I had my camera turned off through most of the Group B qualifying session because I was finishing up my breakfast because I didn't have a lot of time to eat this morning. I was getting the streams done. I've been up since 7 a.m., but It's worth the grind, though. It's a lot of fun when we do these long days like this because I love racing, and I know a lot of you guys do too and appreciate the coverage, and I appreciate you guys tuning in yet again here today. So thank you for watching. We do have that live ticker down at the bottom of the screen. That will be the case, obviously, through the rest of this year into next year. Hopefully add some more stuff going into next season with that. It was kind of a late addition to our streams for this year and this side of things. We haven't really highlighted the playoff standings yet today, so I want to do that for you guys right now so we get the outlook of what the standings do look like leading into the championship race at Phoenix. But coming up just short of the win, finishing in second. Joey Logano obviously advanced into the championship four with a win at Vegas in that fuel mileage race. 35 points to the good for Kyle Larson and plus 27 for William Byron. They are each of the last three winners at this racetrack. Denny Hamlin, a three-time Homestead winner, will roll off fifth in the point standings at minus 27 points, below the cut line. Regular season champion Tyler Reddick, minus 30, as he was fastest in practice overall earlier today and fastest in his group in qualifying as well. Ryan Blaney, 47 points back. Chase Elliott, minus 53. Those four drivers below, not mathematically in a must-win situation, but they're going to need a lot of help. And honestly, I think Bell, Larson, Byron, they're going to be running top 10 pretty much the entirety of these next two races. So it's going to put the pressure on to probably have to win if you're one of those four. But if they win, we've got an extremely tight points battle between Bell, Larson, and Byron. And only one of those guys would get in if a Hamlin, Reddick, Blaney, or Elliott were to win either this weekend at Homestead or next weekend when we end up going to Martinsville in the final race of the round. Going to rewind the broadcast just a little bit. We got an interview with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. now.
Little worn tires, a little heat in the cycles, everything else. Not real sure. It's been a while since we've made the final round. So, this place, Homestead, obviously wears out the tires a lot. Going out early, I think, helped us with track temperature, but also helped us, cool our tires back down, before we go back out. So everybody on this Kroger team's been working really hard. It's been a good week. We went up to Western North Carolina to Asheville and helped some veterans there with Team Rubicon this week, and just a lot of cleanup up there. So still thinking about all those guys and people up there. But so far so good. Start to the day. Happy anniversary to my wife. She flew down today, so it's a good start.
What was it like getting to, I guess I call it the front lines of Western North Carolina? They're on the ground and trying to help.
Yeah, it's just devastating. I mean, we were just in a small little piece of North Carolina, and knowing, how long that river is, and, all the little smaller creeks and stuff that flooded all throughout North Carolina. I can't imagine up and down those valleys. What it looks like. I just know that it was tragedy where we were. And so we'll probably go back up and, keep helping out. I mean, they'll be working there for a long time. So it was really special for our team to get together and go do that for sure.
Well done. Good luck on going for the pole here. Lee, a lot of work yet to be done there. And of course, now he's got to figure out, how do I do this a second time? Do it better at Homestead.
That's great.
Definitely a shocking, impressive run by a couple drivers there in Group B at qualifying against Stenhouse and Hemrick, two Chevys, but not the top-tier Chevy teams that make their way into this round. It is worth noting, though, that Colleague Racing, again, back-to-back top fives with A.J. Allmendinger in this race, so maybe that led to some of the qualifying success for Daniel Hemrick in the Colleague Chevy in the number 31 car, although A.J.'s runs have been in the 16 the last couple of years, and again this weekend at the racetrack here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, but good to see some of those smaller teams qualifying well here today. It's going to be tough to bring down the big dogs, though, for that front row spot. All the 5 Toyotas, couple of HMS Chevys in this round. Spire Motorsports, I didn't mention that, upset as well to get in, though we have seen them numerous times this year qualify in the top 10. I believe this is the first for Justin Haley, though. Obviously, hasn't been back with Spire Motorsports for very long, only his 5th race back with the team and in the 7 car after that mid-season trade with them and Rick Ware Racing, where Corey LaJoie is finishing his season out in the 51. Fast forward in the broadcast a little bit so we can get back to the live coverage. Again, Justin Haley will be the first driver to qualify. Again, our next stream today, noon Eastern Time. NASCAR Truck Series coverage, Craftsman Truck Series race at Homestead. 134 laps, 200 miles are scheduled distance for that one. Xfinity Series race at 4 p.m. Eastern later today will be a 300-mile, 200-lap race at Homestead. That will begin in the daylight hours and more than likely finish into that dusk nighttime sky here at Homestead-Miami Speedway. Two completely different track conditions for those two races. And a triple header. Our Cup Series coverage tomorrow will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern with our pre-race. Certainly working his fast lap right now is the 7 of Justin Haley. A little bit of a wiggle in that groove that he was running through turns 1 and 2. Haley 3 in the top 10, all in his Rick Ware racing time this season. He's yet to score a top 10 finish in his, again, what is going to be 5th race this weekend at Spire. 32.596 for Haley on his lap. And now on track, our first of 5 Toyotas, Denny Hamlin. Bottomed out on his qualifying lap in round 1, heading into turn 3. Picked up on corner exit enough just to break back into the top 5. Right around where his Toyota counterparts were running in the order in which they were. Hamlin tracking in the green through turns 1 and 2. And if he has as successful of a 3 and 4 as he did earlier in round 1, he should easily pick up time, and he does. Didn't bottom out that time, so he might even pick up more from where he left off in the last round. 32.428, he does drop off a couple tenths of a second. That extra lap on these tires, again, same tires used from round 1 to round 2, that has been the case all season long in qualifying. No matter the format or the racetrack that we are on. So the lap times are probably going to drop consistently across the board from where they were. Knowing that this racetrack definitely degrades those tires. Again, a very old surface. 21 years since the last repave and reconfiguration here at Homestead. The lap time, again, was a 32.428 for Hamlin. Martin Truex Jr. tracking in the green to beat his teammate Hamlin entering turn 3. But it is now dropping back into Hamlin's favor as Truex picks the throttle back up. A little late to do so off turn 4. And Truex is going to be second of these three. 32.469. Hamlin by about 0.04 of a second holds on to the top spot. Now his self-owned cars will be next. Bubba Wallace, preceded by Tyler Reddick. Wallace was third fastest in practice overall. Again, second in round 1 for qualifying. And his teammate Tyler Reddick, fastest in practice, fastest in the first round of qualifying. Wallace in the red, though, in turns 1 and 2. Definitely seems to be maybe overdriving the corner entry bit because he picks up just a smidge on both ends of the track in turns 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 on entry, loses it second half of the corner. As he's just not able to get back to the gas as soon as Truex and Hamlin were able to. Third of 4 for Bubba Wallace. 32.505, and now here's his teammate Tyler Reddick, who's going to try to go for that top spot. 27 points below the cut line as Reddick coming into the weekend. And if he could start on pole, he could go out there and try to win a bunch of stages. Get a bunch of stage points, I should say. He did win stage 1 last weekend at Las Vegas. Before, of course, rolling the car down to the grass in the infield in stage number 2. One of those next couple restarts. Easily in the green for Tyler Reddick and only about a tenth off of where he was in round 1, a 32.248 fast lap, and that will lock him into a front row start as he is the fastest in his group yet again. Almost 2 tenths quicker than Denny Hamlin to jump into P1. So 5 drivers again to qualify here. Group A making up the outside row, outside of if the Group A driver has the very top time, which Reddick has right now. And if Reddick's time gets bumped by anybody in Group B, he will qualify second. And all the Group B drivers outside of the front row start will be on the inside row. Of course, if the fastest in Group B is the fastest overall, then they will get the pole. Here's Denny Hamlin.
Got to stare. Yeah, driver first, but absolutely. I mean, start we're there. That's somewhere. Certainly, we'll get a good pit stall, and that's a good place to win from.
Is it directionally moving in the right direction for the 11 team?
Yeah, I thought today went pretty good, and we've got better every run that we've made so far today. So we continue to make improvements on it. Just got to keep working.
Thank you. Up and up and up.
Heading in the right direction. So there's Tyler Reddick. And one of his bosses comes over and says, good job.
Like, I appreciate you guys bringing up that I own the Tyler Reddick car, and I appreciate that I'm getting the credit, but make no mistake about it, when I'm in this fire suit, I'm here for the driver of the 11.
It's pretty interesting, too, because you think about this, Tyler Reddick, 30 points back. Hamlin, 27 points back. If Tyler Reddick were to win this race, that makes the pressure even higher for Denny Hamlin. Of course, the same could be said if Denny Hamlin wins the race, but those two are working together clearly, sitting there in conversation, competing against each other for that last spot in the playoffs.
Well, let's hear from the man on top at the moment, Dave.
Checking in with crew chief Billy Scott, who was the first to radio to Tyler Reddick that he was up by 2/10. You beat Denny before I could really get will that hold kind of answer from him, but will your lap hold?
I hope it's good. We'll see. Obviously, we'll be on the front row, but the main goal out of this is get pit stall one and really just try and stack all the odds in our favor for tomorrow's race. So we'll stay tuned and see what round two brings. Obviously, I think probably saw where I ran, so we'll see if anyone can run comparable lap, but hopefully it holds.
So you heard him.
Daniel Hemrick on track right now, as you heard in the background behind the Tyler Reddick interview. Again, Reddick is looking for that pole spot, locked into the front row. Hemrick's time nowhere near Reddick's through turns 1 and 2. First of the Group B drivers, so he'll be on the front row for now until we get faster times in Group B. That will bump him down to potentially inside of row 5 for the start of tomorrow's race. So Hemrick is locked into at least starting inside the top 9 positions. Wrapping up his lap, 8/10 slower than that of Reddick. You almost wonder where the round 1 speed was for Daniel Hemrick. 33.0 on that lap for him. There's a 33.059. Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson, the Hendrick Motorsports Chevys on track first. It's Elliott also tracking in the red compared to Reddick. I really think that Christopher Bell's the only driver in this group that could take down Reddick. We just haven't seen the same qualifying speed out of the Chevys or the Fords at all here today compared to those Toyotas topping the leaderboard all the way around. And showing what last weekend's race ended up doing at Las Vegas on a 1.5-mile racetrack, it's probably going to be tough to take those Toyotas down this weekend yet again. So for Reddick and Hamlin, maybe their best opportunity of the races below the cut line coming in that they can get a win on. Push their way into the next round, especially for Reddick. Historically, it has not been great at Martinsville. Elliott, faster than Hemrick as we expected, 32.6. Nowhere near Reddick's time for the pole. There's a 32.693 to be exact for him. Larson also tracking in the red, but not as bad as what Elliott and Hemrick were. Keeping it relatively close into turns 3 and 4, about a 10th off. And that'll get him to the front row spot with just 2 more drivers to qualify. Works back in his favor a little bit off of turn 4, but again, still not going to get there. So Reddick stays in P1. Larson now P2. 32.325. And that lap from Larson was quicker than everybody else in Group A other than Reddick. So it is the second fastest time overall in this group of cars and overall in the final round. And another driver that impressed in round 1 of qualifying is now on track, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Not able to drive it in anywhere near as deep as Reddick through 1 and 2, and he's already over a tenth of a second in the negative. And as you see on our leaderboard, he'll end up putting himself with a 32.599 in row 2. So still not bad in the sense that he beat Elliott and beat Hemrick. So a top 5 starting spot is now locked up for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Great qualifying performance in both rounds for him here today. Final driver, Christopher Bell, and he may have a good shot to go for the pole here. I'd be shocked if it's not anything in those top 3 positions. I'd be shocked if it's below Stenhouse's time. What does Christopher Bell have? Was tracking in the red when he got to the start-finish line. He's going to need that big pickup on corner exit. And he got it through 1 and 2. Can he carry that into 3 and 4? He's got a good lap going for himself right now. On corner entry, he may try to back the corner up again. No, he drives it in deeper on entry into 1 and 2. Rides through the bumps. Oh, big moment. Off turn 4, he did catch it from hitting the wall and back into the red. That little hiccup getting off turn 4 costed him the pole run. And Tyler Reddick does hold on. So it'll be Reddick and Larson on the front row. For tomorrow's race at Homestead, Christopher Bell does lock into 3rd place with a 32.369.
He's going to get
back with Reddick again.
Over because he knows it is a team effort. But Tyler, with where things are, second race in the round of 8, and knowing that a win gets you a clean shot at the championship in Phoenix, what does it mean to start on pole?
It's a huge deal for us. This beast Camry, man, is really fast, and it was nice to be able to capitalize on qualifying. All things considered, how last week ended, man, we're picking up right where we left off, to be honest. So excited for tomorrow. This is my kind of place, and we know what we need to do tomorrow.
He hasn't forgotten the flip lead, but he's flipped the script on pole. Tyler Reddick.
That'd be insane if he goes from a flip 1 week to a win the next. We'll go through the starting lineup, and then I'll get to that super chat. I just saw it. So on the front row, as I already mentioned, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson for tomorrow's race. 3rd pole of the season for Tyler Reddick this year. And trying to at least have the similar speed that he had last week when he won stage 1. Just need to carry that through to the finish. And try to, again, win the race and get into the next round. Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin in row number 2. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., again, great top 5 run for him inside of row 3. Outside of that row, Martin Truex Jr. Chase Elliott with Bubba Wallace will round out row number 4. And rounding out the top 10 in row number 5 behind them will end up being Daniel Hemrick and Justin Haley. In row number 6, it'll be Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs in row number 7. Row 8 for Carson Hocevar and Noah Gragson. Second half of the field now in row 9, Kyle Busch with Brad Keselowski, Zane Smith, Ryan Blaney in row 10. Row 11 for Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain. Daniel Suarez with Michael McDowell make up row number 12. And in row 13, William Byron, Joey Logano, 2 playoff drivers. Non-playoff drivers behind them in row 14 of Kaz Grala and Eric Jones. John Henry Nemechek, Austin Dillon in row 15. Todd Gillen, AJ Allmendinger in row 16. And in row 17, it'll be Corey LaJoie, Harrison Burton, Ryan Preece, Austin Cindric in row 18. And rounding out the field will be J.J. Yaley and Chad Fincham in row 19. So that will be the starting lineup for tomorrow's race. Again, the Straight Talk Wireless 400 at the Homestead-Miami Speedway. Our coverage for that one will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Our start times for later today will be at noon Eastern Time in about another hour for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race. And at 4 p.m. Eastern also today will be the NASCAR Xfinity Series race. Appreciate that $20 super chat as well from John Barber. Triple header today. Wow. Got to support the very best NASCAR streaming and commentary on YouTube. I greatly appreciate that. It actually kind of blew my mind when I saw that in the chat. I had to do a double take there for a second, but man, greatly appreciate that, John, and appreciate you just tuning in every weekend. One of the usual suspects to see in the chat. every given weekend with these live commentary streams, especially. So thanks for everybody tuning in. Again, a very early morning stream. It was a fun couple of hours listening to NASCAR Cup Series practice, got into qualifying, and yeah, good healthy start to the day as now we get some racing on later. Again, 200-mile, 134-lap truck race coming up next in about another hour. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.